Hi, Canada. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Good Monday to you. Tom Brady has his 7th ring, tying Paul Brown. That's quite an achievement. I contrast it with George Schultz, who died yesterday at the age of 100. Quoting from the Wall Street Journal, Mr. Schultz held 4 different cabinet posts in the Nixon and Reagan administrations, served for 6 years. President Ronald Reagan, Secretary of State, one of the longest such tenures since World War II. He remained an active voice on national security, economic, and environmental issues after leaving government, sometimes challenging positions of his own party. Born in New York, Mr. Schultz made his mark as an economist originally. After graduating from Princeton, he earns his Ph.D. from the MIT, where he taught for a decade. He was then the dean of the University of Chicago's Graduate School of Business, a fellow at Stanford, and then President Richard Nixon picked him to serve as Secretary of Labor. He went on to become the OMB director under President Nixon, then the Secretary of Treasury. Then he left and ran Bechtel for a while and came back with Mr. Reagan. Remarkable life, remarkable patriot. When I met him for the first of 2 times, it was at the Hoover Institution. I was a, quote, media fellow. There were a bunch of us in the room, other journalists. And George Schultz came in, sat down, looked up at the circle. It was one of those raised classrooms, said, "Hello, I'm George Schultz, United States Marine." George Schultz went ashore at Peleliu. So his public service actually goes back to prior to 1969. And that's how he liked to be remembered. George Schultz, United States Marine. No taken away from Tom Brady. He had a great game. He is the greatest of all time. He's better than Frank Ryan. Maybe as good as Otto Graham. Of course, it was tougher back then. But Patrick Mahomes did not look like he had to be on the same field last night. I think Baker Mayfield and the Browns, since they have an offensive line, would have given him a better game. But 1 for 2 in the Super Bowl is something that, you just got to, if you're Patrick Mahomes, you just got to be satisfied with. Chris Jones tweeted out 10 hours ago, "I profiled Gronk's dad, Gordy, and went to their house. The 5 Gronk boys shared 5 king-size beds in 2 massive rooms with extra-wide doors. Which bed was Rob's?" Gordy shrugged. "Wherever they crashed, that night they crashed. He said it was like he raised giant cats." So that's pretty funny. Good news and bad news on the COVID front. All right. Good news is that we've got 41 million Americans have got at least 1 dose. 59 million doses have been delivered. I'm starting to hear from friends they're getting it. Bad news. Lots of COVID conspiracy theories are out there. They're all wrong. They're all doing destructive things. You need to get the vaccination for yourself, for your family, for your friends, for your loved ones, for the world. There is a study that shows the AstraZeneca jab from the United Kingdom, not the ones we use here, does not work to prevent the mild and moderate COVID from the South African strain, which may or may not be a big deal, but it's not great. The ministers in the UK say keep faith in it. The Wall Street Journal has a story, COVID-19 vaccines raise hope, but cold reality dawns that the illness is likely here to stay. It might be. If it gets weaker, it won't be a big deal. There's good medical news as well from the United Kingdom. Some scientific breakthroughs offering hope in the fight against Alzheimer's. There are other diseases, of course, out there. And 50 million worldwide cases of Alzheimer. And they've been studying it for years. But there's a new drug, donanemab, 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 manufactured by Eli Lilly. Highly effective at removing the protein buildups in the brain, the amyloid plaques that have been the suspected culprit for 3 decades. So I thought I'd pass along some good news. Here's the best call of last night, even though I don't normally play these. when the game was out of hand and out of line, it became, of course, that time of the game when morons jump on the field. Here's Kevin Harlan's call of the idiot on the field.
Down 20, 5:03 to go. Someone has run on the field. Some guy with a bra. And now he's not being chased. He's running down the middle of the 40. Arms in the air in a victory salute. He's pulling down his pants. Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants. He's being chased to the 30. He breaks a tackle from a security guard. The 20, down the middle, the 10, the 5. He slides at the 1, and they converge on him at the goal line. Pull up your pants, take off the bra, and be a man. And the players with hands on hips at the other end of the field are looking at him and shaking their head and saying, why, oh why, is this taking place in a Super Bowl?
Because the game was over and someone had too much to drink. Now, I will tell you this. He didn't score. He slid and he didn't score. He did not stop. You know, if that had been an NFL play, everyone would say, why did he slide then? I mean, if he had anything, he would have gone for it, but he didn't.
He looked like the Chiefs at the goal line.
Yeah, he did. The Chiefs, he did better than the Chiefs at the goal line, actually. Joe Biden last night or 60 Minutes interview, the traditional presidential Super Bowl interview, talking to Norah O'Donnell. He immediately apologized to President Xi, cut number 3.
Well, we haven't had occasion to talk to one another yet. There's no reason not to call him. I probably spent more time with Xi Jinping, I'm told, than any world leader has, because I had 24, 25 hours of private meetings with him when I was vice president, traveled 17,000 miles with him. I know him pretty well.
There's a lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about. A whole lot to talk about. And he's very bright. He's very tough. He doesn't have, and I don't mean as a criticism, just a reality, he doesn't have a democratic small d bone in his body. But he is, the question is, I've said to him all along, that we need not have a conflict, but there's going to be an extreme competition. And I'm not going to do it the way that he knows this, because he's been sending signals as well, that I'm not going to do it the way Trump did. We're going to focus on international rules of the road.
Now, unfortunately, Winston Churchill spent a lot of time with Stalin, and it didn't change Stalin. So that's just not a signifier of anything. He said, I didn't mean it as a criticism when I called it undemocratic. He is worse than undemocratic. He's got a genocide underway in his country. And then comes my favorite bit of the interview, Joe Biden with Norah O'Donnell. Remember this, all you parents out there who are looking at another long day with your children not in school. The President of the United States says this, cut number 4.
I think it's time for schools to reopen safely. Safely. You have to have fewer people in the classroom. You have to have ventilation systems that have been reworked. Our CDC commissioner is going to be coming out with science-based judgment within, I think, as early as Wednesday, as to lay out what the minimum requirements are.
It's so hard with kids not being able to play sports now.
It really is. I think about the price so many of my grandkids and your kids are going to pay for not having had the chance to finish whatever it was. That graduation where you didn't get to walk across the stage. I think they're going through a lot, these kids.
Look, he didn't talk about the teacher unions. The teacher unions are not going back. Do you think he might have said, teachers unions, follow the science and go back? Think he might have said that? He didn't say that. He should have said that because he's the president. And teachers unions are the ones who aren't following the science. I'll be right back.